So Puget Sound Energy, who is a customer of ours, we do all their low income and light heat and cap programs. They actually were like, oh wait, well, we heard what you guys did for Southwest Gas, would love you to come and do this for us. We're having real issues. So they had some real serious challenges as well too, just like Southwest Gas, where they were looking at around 26,000, 28,000 exceptions that are coming on a monthly basis. And they were going to their leadership team to ask to hire 35 additional personnel. And their leadership said no. Just throwing more bodies isn't really the solution. I want to know what's happening. So the reality is they didn't really have the context of why these exceptions were taking place. All they know that exceptions were happening, right? And because our system starts with reasoning, it pulls the exception and does the analysis to determine why the exception took place. So, Puget Sound Energy looked at it as a kind of two birds with one stone moment. Not only will I be able to have a system that actually resolves the exception for me, but now the same system is going to tell me why the exception is happening. And that was a big thing for them. And they really needed that visibility to understand their process and how their backlog kept growing and growing and growing. When they came to us, they said, our backlog right now is at 42,000 constant, and it won't go down. Because it just keeps piling up more and more and more and more. Huge. So what was the objective? All right, let's look at the biggest high volume exceptions that they believe they needed quick visibility because they mainly tied to the meter reading. And they're AMI, so think about this. Think about how much money they spent on AMI, and literally the biggest exception category they have is meter reading. I see you shaking your head. Crazy, right? But it's the reality of the situation because life happens. Weather patterns change. People pattern changes. A lot of things change. After COVID, a lot of people stayed in-house. There's a lot more work from home right now. So you don't plan all this stuff when you set up your initial sets of tolerance limits, when you set how your billing parameters are going to be. So much stuff has changed. And now their system is kind of telling them that by pumping out all of these exceptions. That's how I look at it. Your system is talking to you at the end of the day, right? So we basically did it as multi-stages, multi-phases. We wanted to focus on the largest meter type of problems that they're having. And then we started to look at furthering down how we can simplify the life of their agent. So unlike Southwest Gas, they chose not to go with any type of guided procedures for their teams. So we had built a framework for guided procedures for net new folks who join, so it becomes easier for them to handle the manual stuff. Their team has been operating in their current CIS long enough that they felt comfortable that they can just go into the CIS and do whatever they needed to do from a manual perspective for anything that our system doesn't kick out. And then same thing, exactly like we did at Southwest Gas, they wanted to know, because the difference between them and Southwest Gas is they have AMI picking off exceptions in real time. Right, certain types of exceptions that they have, right, versus waiting in for a batch job. So they wanted a little bit more near real-time type of insights into what's going on, how the system is picking up exceptions, how it's operating, and we delivered it in the same way. We showed it, then our framework builds it out to show you in decision tables and BPM tables, and BPM diagrams and views, and that made it very easy for their business analysts and their BI team to come in and be like, oh, okay, I know exactly what's going on here. I know what I need to do. I understand why the system did what it did. And it allowed them to now understand where they have configuration issues in SAP. So now their SAP team is going in and starting to fix those issues so they can ensure that these types of exceptions are less in the future. Right? The numbers have to keep going down from a frequency perspective. So just off of the quick work, we went live with the first version of this for them in 9 weeks because we have a lot of pre-built logic that we just basically put together. And we were able to save them over 5,000 man hours so far, and we're automating a bunch more that we keep going. For the ones that we have automated, our success rate's around 96.7%. Again, you won't get to 100, right? Like this is really good, right? I mean, if you get over the 94, 95, right? Because we have, for example, scoring within our AI, and then basically say if our confidence is under 80%, they want us to immediately stop, pause, kick it off, and give it to an agent. And then we need to understand what the agent did different, and then our teams go and kind of retrain their models.